Fred Meyer moves that money elsewhere, only accepted in local businesses. Local businesses, buy local, hire local. Money that stays in a community moves 5 times through different businesses and different people before it leaves. The more money that stays in a community, the more overall business there is. The more people you can afford to hire, the more goods will get sold. Right? And if we have our own currency, we're guaranteeing that value that we create stays here. And that's really important, not so much because buy local, it's good to buy local. But it's more important not to fund giant corporations owned by the 5 white guys in New York who are cutting down rainforests for palm oil. It's more important that we start looking at sustainable, both environmentally and economically, systems and corporations and business models that we can actually use for the next 100 years. Right? Those things are not being explored by people being driven by the profit motive. Those things are being explored by people who are looking at ways that they can exist within a community, essentially forever. That they're not taking more than they give back. Right? The second thing is, let's call it municipal corporations. Right? Now, municipal corporations are what we have now. And a corporation is a legal person. I don't know if all of y'all have seen the movie The Corporation or you know much about this, but it's a very weird sort of gray space in the law. That they're a person in the sense that they have rights and they can own things, because if we start a corporation, well, 2050 is a legal person. We own things. Well, 2050 owns things. I think it owns that camera, right? I don't own that camera. Eric doesn't own the camera, right? 2050 owns that camera. Weird. Doesn't quite make sense. It's just weird. Well, forget it. We don't need it. Let's change it. Because articles of incorporations have rules. So we change it to a municipal trust. Now, trust, we say it holds it in trust for all the members. So Bellingham, right now, municipal corporation, there's a fictitious person called Bellingham that pays the mayor and owns the parks and whatnot. Change it to municipal trust. Now, you, the residents of Bellingham, pay the mayor and own the parks. This is really key, because what it does is it actually sets up the legal framework for a corporate accountability board. Because in theory, a trust is administered by certain people, but those people are chosen by the members of the trust. So we could elect certain people to say, okay, you're the Parks Council, it's your job to take care of the parks. And rather than it be an appointee by the fictitious person of Bellingham, it would be an electee of us. Right? And so now we can use eminent domain. And this is where I brought up that parking lot down by Tokyo House. Because we need many better things than a parking lot in that empty lot. But it just wasn't profitable. So, here's the thing about eminent domain. Very fun. Supreme Court has expanded its use that the government, any government, local government, can force the sale of land or property if it's going to be used for the public good. So we could go, the city of Bellingham, or now us, as citizens of Bellingham, could go to the people who own that parking lot and say, we are forcing you to sell us that land at fair market value. And you have to give it to us. And we pay them for it legally, and it's ours legally. And let's say we build a housing development on it because we need cheap housing in Bellingham. Who's going to manage that? Let's elect somebody else. We start seeing this is how you build these corporate accountability boards in. Right? That you can actually create legally an elected official whose job it is to administer a business. Right? I'm kind of worried about our national parks. Just if I can speak nationally for a second, that they're, not going to be around in 50 years because they're going to get sold off. And this is something I feel, rather strongly about, that public places should be public, right? Not owned by a little private fictitious entity that we get to kind of elect, right? You should be able to administer public lands. You should have a decision on how those public lands are used. Right? And we should begin expanding the idea of public land to things that are for the public good, like housing developments, like the places that you work, like the places that we depend on for employment to keep economies going. All right? And so now, if we produce our own local currency, if we move things to municipal trusts, what we've done here is we've created a citizen-owned economy. Because now we can start using eminent domain to seize this abandoned capital, to seize abandoned lots, to start putting them towards use that the community needs. Right? We can start building housing developments. We can start farming on an abandoned piece of the land. Right? And now these businesses are directly accountable to us. They will answer to elected officials that we will elect, say, every year or two, and your call, whichever you think is best, or maybe 4, I don't know. I prefer yearly elections myself. I don't know about you. And if we don't like the job that the people overseeing these businesses are doing, we kick them out. And it's a lot easier to kick someone out in a small local election than it is a big national election. Because it's a lot harder to buy off people when you know them. Right? It's a lot easier to keep people accountable when they're like, hey, you moved 2 streets over and you've got a new car. How do you afford that? Right? Corruption, smaller problem. All right, now these businesses that we will be administering, they'll produce what we want, not what's profitable because they're ours. Right? We own them, we control them, they work for the benefit of us collectively, us the citizens of Bellingham, us the citizens of Whatcom County, us, however big we want this to be. Right? As big as you want it to go, that's how big it can be. And it can work for our collective interest, expressed through the corporate accountability boards. And hey, let's start at NIT. Let's start at NIT with time dollars. Because time dollars are really cool because you can start protecting your, say, strategic industries. Right? We depend on farming in Skagit County. So if we find farms that will take time dollars, right, they have a guaranteed income. In effect, they have a certain, because we're saying, well, we're going to buy your food. And we've signed a contract with you. We promise to buy this much food, and we're going to pay you in time dollars. Those time dollars will then be spent inside Bellingham because, or wherever they will accept it. Am I right? Do they accept them in Everett?
Everett, I don't know, but they're trying to do D.C., Seattle, and Fort Townsend.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. And so now these farms. Sorry. Yes.
Sorry, but you're not proposing that this new sort of local currency replace the dollar? It would just be something that works within local community as well. Because, I mean, I feel like that would be really complicated if all of a sudden you have different currencies for smaller communities because if you travel or if you drive.
You're right. And this is, currencies are one of these things that become more appealing the more people use them. Right? That a time dollar, not so appealing if I can only spend them in free shops in Bellingham. Very appealing if I can spend them anywhere in the I-5 corridor. Right? Am I proposing to replace the dollar? No. Am I proposing you stop using dollars if you can buy everything you need with time dollars? Yes. There's no. The only reason to use a dollar is because you can spend it anywhere. But if you can buy your groceries and your gas and pay your rent and do everything you normally do and only use time dollars, only use time dollars or whatever local currency you want. Right? There's no reason to be subject to the very poor fiscal management of the federal government, which has, I mean, let's be honest, wrecked our gas prices. A lot of the raising gas prices is because the dollar's weakening, and so the price must rise in response to that.
So would the dollar do this?
In Washington, maybe. I don't know. But I do know that will it fix everything? I don't know. Will it get better? Will it get better if you can go out and use a currency that you know is stable, that you know supports your local businesses, that you know supports environmentally and labor-friendly businesses? Is that better? Absolutely. What happens because of that? Hey, if it catches and it spreads, awesome. If it doesn't, at least we know that in this area, it's better.
No, but I know you said local currency would be immune to like the dollar roller coaster, but I'm thinking like if you had to buy something from like the co-op, but they get their food, or I don't even know, like from or whatever, and they get their food from, they have to spend extra, like they have to spend $1 to go out of the community and get their products, and then extra money. And wouldn't that affect the local currency?
This is, see, and so immune may be a slight exaggeration. But in many ways, for many things, it will become immune. That the more, so production, anything can be produced is made up of all these smaller components. The more of those components you bring into your local currency sphere, the less subject you are to that currency, the other currency moving around. And so, for something they got to ship in from wherever, yeah, that's going to be a problem. For something from Linden, if that person's taking time dollars, price won't change much with the dollar because probably most of the things in that component, the cows and the grass and the maybe a little of the gasoline, whatever, that's coming from here, places that are using time dollars or whatever.
So it grows on itself.
Yeah, this is why the more people use it, the more appealing it becomes. This is the incentive to go use it, because if you use it, it becomes more appealing to other people, and now they can start using it. Your using it actually enhances other people's choice, the ability of people to choose to use it. Yes?
Just a funny point about that is that we have a local refinery that we don't use the gasoline from.
Oh my God. I love it. Washington is the best place to be. we've got iron, I mean, we have smelters, we've got gasoline refineries.